Hi guys, and welcome back to Fit with T. I hope you guys are good. So today I'm going to talk about how to become a pro athlete in track and field. So I received this question from 30 Upload 1, and I think you're he, I'm sorry if you're not, but they asked this. But can you explain to me, is being a pro athlete a full-time job, and what would you get paid? And after studying in British college, how can I apply to these pro classes and successfully become a full-time athlete representing the country? So first of all, thank you 30 Upload 1 for your question. I did answer the question in a written format, but I thought it was such a good question that I actually wanted to create a video about it. So guys, if you do have questions, feel free to leave them below. I'd love to answer them if you think it's a question that other people might be asking as well, because I don't really answer in one sentence sometimes. I literally leave a whole paragraph. So it's actually a good way to answer your question by video if it's something that a lot of people are asking, so you might have your question answered in a video like this. So today we're talking about how to become a pro athlete. So I thought 30 Uploads 1 question was actually a really good question, and I think sometimes it's easy to assume that everybody knows the answer to something because maybe you've been in the sport for a really long time or you understand. So I think there's a lot of people, whether you're a young athlete just new to the sport maybe, and you're trying to find out how you can become a professional athlete. This is a really good question, and I pray that this video will answer that question for you. The first thing I wanted to just break down is the difference between being a professional athlete, full-time athlete, and representing your country. But although a professional athlete is likely to be a full-time athlete and also likely to be representing the country, they actually have different meanings, and you can actually be either or. You could be a professional athlete and not actually represent your country that particular year. You could be a professional athlete and maybe not train full-time, maybe in a way that, so we're going to define full-time, because what full-time means for different athletes means different things. And you could be a full-time athlete but not be professional, and perhaps again not be representing your country. So we're going to talk about all three of these things. So first of all, what does it mean to be a professional athlete in athletics? So being a professional athlete in track and field had a bit of a different meaning perhaps to other sports, because like I said, you could represent your country and not actually be a professional athlete. Being a professional athlete essentially means athletics is your job. That's what you're getting paid to do. So whether that's through sponsorships, you have funding. So if you're in the UK, for example, you're on the national lottery funding through the British Athletics Funding Programme. So you're funded by your country. You have different sponsorships that allow you to train and compete as your job, allow you to train full-time, allow you to live off of being an athlete. Those sponsorships, prize money, national lottery funding, through things like appearance fees, bonuses that they make for positioning in certain races, appearing in adverts. All of these are going to be additional ways that athletes make their income, which enable them to be professional athletes. So professional essentially means that athletics is your job, it's what pays you. So it's not quite the same as representing your country, although like I said already, a professional athlete is likely to also be representing their country when it comes to major championships. That at least would be the aim anyway. But in countries where there are many athletes who are at a very high level, then it could mean that you're a professional athlete but you haven't represented your country. And we see this a lot, where a professional athlete doesn't necessarily make the team, their national team that year for whatever the major championship is. But professional athlete essentially means you get paid from your sport. You get paid through sponsorships, through funding, through brand deals, through advertising, through appearance fees. All these types of things are the ways that athletes get paid. Being a full-time athlete means different things to different people, but in general, we would say that most athletes, professional athletes, elite athletes, want to or do train about 3 to 5 hours a day, 5 to 6 times a week. So what we're talking about in general would be an average of 15 hours to 30 hours. So it's quite a broad spectrum of what full-time means to different athletes, but you have to also remember that treatment and resting is a big part of being an athlete as well. It doesn't necessarily make sense to train 8 times a day. It doesn't necessarily benefit you. It's not just about quantity but about quality as well. So like I said, between 15 to 30 hours a week would be a general summary of what full-time means to most athletes. And so a person can be not necessarily being paid from their sport. Maybe they don't have a sponsor, maybe they're not on national lottery funding or whatever funding is that your country has in that sense, but they are able to train full-time because they're able to fund themselves in other ways, maybe for another job. Obviously full-time not only is it about the hours, but for most people the term full-time means that I don't have to work another job. And so a lot of athletes may be training those hours or have been able to figure out a way to train those hours, but they still have to have another job as well. And that's where it becomes difficult, because where they might want, let's say, another 16 hours to be able to rest, no, they have to now get another job to support them. But being able to train only, that's the only thing you have to do. You don't have to have another job to support your life. You can just live off of athletics. That's what people want it to mean. And in that sense, that's where professional and full-time mean the same thing. But like I said, if we're looking at just hours, being a full-time athlete doesn't necessarily mean that athletics is the thing that is paying you. There are other ways that you may fund your full-time athletics, and I'm going to make a video about that, so stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that video. I'm going to talk about how you can actually become a full-time athlete or fund yourself to be a full-time athlete if you're not sponsored or if you're not professional in the sense that we've already described before. And so then we've got representing your country. And like I said, you may not be professional, you may not have a sponsor, you may not be living off of athletics as yet, you may have another job and still represent your country. And we see this very often again, where you've got an athlete who makes it all the way to the Olympics or makes it to a world championships or whatever major championship. You know, they haven't been supported by their national governing body in the sense of finances. They've funded their own athletics, they've had to work another job or something like this, and they've made it to a national team. So it's very possible to represent your country. But in athletics, performance leads, and that's what we're going to talk about now. How can you become a professional athlete, a full-time athlete, or an athlete that represents their country? So I've got a couple of videos on my channel now where I talk about how athletes qualify for the Olympics, or I talk about the other major championship in track and field. So the Olympics is not the only competition, but if you haven't checked out my video about how athletes qualify for the Olympics, then check out that video, because essentially that video will give you a general idea as to how athletes have to qualify for any major championship. It's not necessarily exactly the same standards or exactly the same policy. However, in general, it's the same sort of principles apply to any major championship. And so to become a athlete who represents your country, your focus has to be performance. Even though you can go to college in the UK, college and sixth form, so this is in other places that people stay in high school till they're 18, but in the UK you only stay in secondary school until you're 16, and then you go on to either sixth form or college, where you have your first level of higher education, and then you go on to university. So I know, like in America, for example, they call university college is the same thing, but in the UK, university is university and college is the equivalent to sixth form, where you do your A levels or something like this. So basically, even though you can study sports and you can study to understand your sport better in terms of educational classes, because that's part of the question that Certi Upload 1 asked, was about, is there any classes and stuff that you can take? Performance leads in athletics. If you're going to take any kind of classes, attend any kind of education, it's got to be about how to perform better. You getting to understand your sport, how to develop your skill better. If you don't have a coach that is doing that for you and you want to learn for yourself, and you're not necessarily learning from your coach on the job, then the best thing to do would be to learn about your event and implement the things that you learn into your training, because performance leads, there's no like route where you can go to college and it's just going to directly take you to be a professional athlete. It just doesn't happen like that, because of there's many factors such as injury, such as, you know, who knows, life in general. Things can happen where it's not a smooth road for most people. But if your focus is performance, once you perform at the level that's required to qualify for your event, it doesn't matter whether you're professional or not, the door will open for you. You will qualify for your event, regardless of whether you're professional or whether you have a full-time job doing something else. Okay, so performance leads in athletics. So your focus as an athlete has to be performance, and that's the way that you get to qualify or compete for your country, is by performing at the standard that's needed. And so that means that performance has to be your focus, training has to be your focus, trying to qualify and attain certain standards is going to have to be your focus, and that's how you're going to actually open the door for yourself. If you do the performances, you know, you qualify for a major championship such as the Worlds or the Olympics, you medal, that opens the door to so many other financial opportunities, from sponsorship to brand deals to advertising to bonuses because of the position that you came in the competition and all these kind of things. So the doors open. The higher level you perform, the better you perform, the more opportunities come. So performance leads in athletics always. There's no route where you can just study and then you're going to become a professional athlete. It doesn't work like that. Athletics is a sport. When it comes down to the crunch, that's what sport is about. It's about competing, it's about performance. So that has to be your focus, and that's really and truly, in very simple terms, the only way to become a professional athlete is to perform well. If you don't perform well, you're not going to become a professional athlete. So the focus still has to be performance no matter what. There's so much more that I feel like I could say about this topic. If you have any questions off the back of this, leave them in the comment section below and I would love to answer them. Like I said, I'll try to make a video about them if I think it's a topic that a lot of people would benefit from. Let me know in the comment section below. But if you like the video, guys, please give it a big thumbs up to help me accelerate my channel, to let the algorithm know and so that more people can see this video. And if you want to know how do athletes qualify for the Olympics, how can I qualify to actually represent my country, make sure to check out this video and I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye guys.